thank you all for being here. And I'd really like to extend that to not just our immediate family, but to my dad's extended family and their kids and grandkids and friends and longtime acquaintances. Well, you know, this isn't the kind of talk anyone likes to give here, but you know, we'll try to keep it a little light. You know, we're here to celebrate my dad's life here today. For anybody who's not aware, he turned 72 yesterday. So there you go. So we're going to be cutting cake sometime around 2 o'clock for that, so just so you know that up front. Oh, you know, I wanted to form an eloquent speech and write it down and rehearse it, and I just thought, you know, I can't pull that off. It's not my style. So I'm just going to speak from the heart. And it's how fumbled and muddled and all that, but it's just how it is. You know, I gotta say, Dad, you know, look at this room. There's a testimony here, speaking loud. It's all these people in this room, you know, have been part of your life, and they're all here to celebrate your time, and, you know, there's a lot of love in this room. A lot of love, everybody here. I guess the tough part of this speech is this here, and I might as well just address it. This is a hard one for me to swallow. But I had a wonderful childhood and young adulthood and raising my children, and you know, and things got a little sour on us, and we had some time that was broken away where we hadn't seen, and there's a void in years. And you know, I just want to try to be a big person and openly admit those are hard years to deal with. You know, it was, I chalk it all to the Hart stubbornness. And I may not be the only person in this room who blood that runs through. Just a hunch, but I don't keep real tight with family drama and all that, but you know, just over here bits and pieces. So, you know, that's just how life goes. We live it and you know, look back afterwards and, you know, with hindsight, thinking what we would have done differently. And, you know, those are just some of the regrets of the lost time. There's nothing you can do about that. And my dad and I were talking last night, and as a child growing up, he taught me a lot of things. Some of it was by direct on instruction, some of it was just observing him and picking up on things. You know, he was instructing me and not even knowing he was doing it. Whether it be in character, whether it be, you know, something with, you know, I like to try to, you know, think I'm doing the same with my own children. And, you know, I guess you're never really done setting an example for your kids, Dad. Because you know what, here today, being as strong as you are through what you're facing, you're still setting an example. And not just for me this time, for all of us. As a young man growing up, we've had lots of father and son projects. We always call them projects. You know, everybody would, you know, call, you know, what project you're working on now, and that still continues to this day. But we were talking last night, and one of my dad's greatest wishes, at least for the last 20 years or so, one of his largest ambitions was to see families come together and be at peace. And the last week has brought a lot of that to fruition. There's been many sit-down discussions in the midst of the terrible circumstance, and people just felt a need to air out. And there's been a lot of you know, wounds healed this past week. And one of the comments that my dad and I were talking about is in the scope of having projects, father and son projects. I thought it was a neat thing. And I'd like to think of this as maybe our last father and son project. But since my dad's largest ambition was to have family be at peace and be together, I just want to take the moment here in honor of him to challenge each and every one of you whether you be an adult, a child, or what have you, to make peace with your loved ones, your children, your parents, your brother, your sister, your cousins, because you really don't know how much time you have, and that's so true. You hear it over and over, it becomes cliche. But you know, a situation like this really proves that point. And you know, we weren't expecting this to go this way. And you know, although you never cease to pray for miracles, you know, we know God is reaching out to him at this point. And I guess the Lord's invite is in the mail to you, Dad. And that's, you know, maybe the best way we can view it. We're all getting one. He's not the only one. We're all getting one. And it is going to be here sooner than we know. But let the things roll off. Let the crap go out. Take the garbage out. You know, hug and embrace your loved ones. Really, really. Because we lost 15 plus years of our lives. And that's a terrible thing. And it's terrible hindsight. And we're going to be okay because we lived with it, and we're going to look back and remember these fond memories. But, you know, I can't stop helping to think that today is a real pre-arranged event by the guy upstairs. Really. Because most people don't get this chance. Many people don't get the chance to ever reconcile, and most people don't get the chance to say, you know, see you later until we meet again to their loved ones. You know, it's a wonderful thing that it came at his birthday, because what more memorable day to, you know, reflect on and think, hey, you know, my dad's birthday. Oh yeah, that was a bad week, and you know what? It's going to stay in your hearts forever. And so we're sort of viewing it as a blessing. You know, the Lord definitely wants us to love one another and, you know, follow his example. And I think we're following my dad's example because of his unconditional love for his family and his display of that through all the hard years of his life. And he's still hanging at it today. So, you know, I'm very sure that the Lord is looking down on him right now and thinking, you know, good job, my son, good job. Well done. So, anyhow, okay. We've got to move on to more upbeat things. Many of you have known him. Of course, my sister and I has been father. It's, you know, many of you know him as Grandpa, Pop, Bruz, Mr. Mike. I don't know, I'm sure I'm missing some names. Hart Castle. There you go. Lots of nicknames over the years. You know, and it's a real honor of mine to honor you today, Dad. It really is. I'm very proud to be standing up here presenting this talk for you, and this honor for you. I'm proud to be your son. I'm proud to be your namesake. You're a good man and you're well loved, and that's the most people can ask for. So I just would like to again thank everybody for coming and being part of this. We have a special moment here with my sister and my father we'd like to share. And Dad, I don't even think you're aware of this. You may just be finding out right now. But part of the difficult years in our family took place during the time when my sister Patty got married. And I had the honor and the privilege of giving her away and walking her up the aisle because my dad and her were at odds at that particular time. And that hurt my dad deeply. And we all understand. But at the time, you know, the heart stubbornness just wouldn't let up. So that time was lost. And Dad, today, your daughter would like to share that moment with you. If you can pull yourself together a little bit just to have a Daddy's little girl dance with Patty. That would be wonderful.
catch up to you.
Your daddy's little girl to have and hold. The precious child is what you are. Your you're the spirit of Christmas, my star on the tree. You're the Easter bunny to mommy and me. Your sugar, your spice, your everything nice, and your daddy's little girl.
Nicely done, nicely done. Along with your... Thank you, Dad. Sorry to stress you out there, Dad. We love you, Dad. We love you. You always been in our thoughts, you always been in our prayers, never forgotten. And not just by us, but everybody in this room. You've touched. Okay, I don't think there's too many dry eyes in the crowd here, and that wasn't really the intent. It's just to share a nice moment. Other references like that. I'll think of 1,000 things I wish I had said. That'll be, at this point, let's try to get the thing turned around a bit. And, aside from some of the ruptures we've had lots of great memories, really, so many of them. And so many of you have had great memories, whether it be growing up as a child along with him, being his sibling, or being grandchildren, or what have you. I'm going to leave the storytelling up to you guys. So what I'd like to do is just ask at random here, come on up here. If you have a nice story, a funny story you'd like to share with everybody about my dad, we'd all love to hear it. And I'm sure he would too. So, who wants to be first? There you go, Uncle Rich. All right.
I'm working, okay. One story I want to tell you is about when I was a kid, with my older brother Frank and Mike were working on the outhouse. And just cut a new D in front of the outhouse. My mom came out. Frank said to Mike, he said, look, let me get out the house and get a bucket of water. So Mike went in the house to get a bucket of water. In the meantime, my mom came out and she said, is anybody in the outhouse? And Frank said, no. And she went in the outhouse. Then Mike comes out with a bucket of water. And Frank says to Mike, throw the water up on the roof and see if it leaks. Well, Frank knew that Mike didn't have enough strength to get bucket of water up on the roof. So when he threw it, almost all of it went into the diamond shape they had just cut into the front of the outhouse. Who's sitting inside but my mom, and she screams. She comes flying out the door. In the meantime, Mike ran. My mom says to Frank, "Who threw that bucket of water on there?" And Frank says, "Mike did." So she called Mike over, and she was all wet and stuff. My brother Frank was laughing, and Mike's standing there really scared, and she picks up a handful of cow flop, because we had a cow at that time, and she took the cow flop and she flopped it right on Mike's head.
Oh.
So there's my mom soaking wet, and there's the cow flop on it, and Mike turned around and said to my mom, "Well, the only reason I threw it up there was because Frank told me to." So then she turns around and she picks some eggs up, because they had just collected eggs from the chickens in the chicken house, and she takes the eggs and she flops them on Frank's head. So when they come walking in the house here to my mom's, soaking wet, Mike's got cow flop running off his head, and Frank's got eggs running down the front of his face. It's our infamous outhouse that we had at Sears. Protein the egg, or whatever's in the egg, didn't over your hair, that's for sure.
It's not directly about my dad, but it's about a very, very, in the midst of all of this sad, reflective time right now, it's a very funny story that we all experienced a couple of days ago. I think it was, what day did we go, Wednesday, Thursday? Thursday. After spending time with my dad, Tuesday night and Wednesday, on Thursday, he wanted to go up to the shrine of Padre Pio. So we decided to go up there and spend the day. And it was a really, really beautiful day. My dad had the shawl draped around him. We said prayers. It was just a very peaceful day. You probably have seen the pictures. My dad lit a candle, and we just had some quiet, reflective, and prayerful time with him. It was just irreplaceable that time. But to lighten it up, when we were heading out front, they have bronze statues of Padre Pio, and then three little children. Aunt Anne's already left, she was there. Three little children, and it's kind of like on a cement slab. There's Padre Pio, then there's three children, and then there's a space. Well, in the space in between, there was a beautiful ceramic vase, like an urn-looking thing, that was sitting in the center. And you could tell there was like rust and stuff around it, like it had been there a little while. And we were all standing there going, "What's that? What's in that?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, it can't be like an urn or something, can it?" And we were going, "No, no." And I'm like, "Well, everybody, it's me, my dad, Mike, Kayla, and Aunt Benny Ann." And we're standing there, we're looking, and I'm like, "Kayla, you open it up." She's like, "I'm not opening it up." And I'm like, "It can't be. I bet it's like notes. It's got to be notes and special intentions, because they have intention boxes all throughout Padre Pio, throughout this shrine." So we're standing there, and I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, "I'll open it up." So without even a hesitation, I was like, "All right, it's got to be." I walk over, I'm like, lift it up, I'm like, "Whoa! Whoa!" I almost dropped the lid. I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to disturb you." And we all rolled. It was ashes of somebody sitting out there right in front of the statue for, rain, whatever you might call it. It wasn't sealed. It wasn't anything. And I was just, oh my God, talk about skeeved. That was a new level of skeeved. And I just kept apologizing, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Rest in peace. I'm so sorry." Well, we finished at the shrine, and we decided my dad wanted to stop at a diner on the way home to get something to eat. So I pulled up to the door, I dropped them all off, and I parked the car. Mike stayed in the car with me, we parked the car. Don't I get out of the car, open the door, and step in a big, fat, pink wad of bubble gum. I lift my shoe, I'm like, it's one of those, it's stringing 2 feet with me. I'm dragging my feet all the way in, trying to get the gum off my shoe. I'm like, don't hit that. What? Don't you eat that? That's really gross. That's disgusting. So we walk in, we sit down, I don't think anything of it. We're sitting there, the waitress hands us our menus, she comes back a moment later, would anybody, what can I get you to drink? She goes around the table. She proceeds to go to Aunt Betty Ann, Kayla, my dad. And then on the other side of the booth, she goes to Mike, and then she looks and turns and walks away. And I'm sitting there going, what the? I'm like, oh my God, I'm cursed. I'm done. Cursed and dumb. Now, she doesn't even care. I'm the closest one to her. My brother's on the other side of me. I'm like, oh man. I said, I'm sorry. Yeah, she didn't give me a place set. It was like I wasn't there.
Oh my God.
So, nobody might want to get too close to me for the next couple. I know I pissed somebody off really good. So, that's my funny story of our date the other day up at the shrine.
How many more things are yet to come? I don't know. I don't know what the consequences are for opening up the magic lamp.
I'm Timmy. Last time I said that, my papa passed. Uncle Mike, I love you. People come in and out of your life every day. And there's something I'm going to say, and it's going to take me a minute, so bear with me. And I think about the poem, and I'll paraphrase it. In 100 years, it's not going to matter. We never think 100 years is going to come today. In 100 years, it won't matter what kind of car I drove. It won't matter what my clothes were. It won't matter how much money I had. It won't matter the kind of house I lived in. If I touched someone and changed their life and made it better, that's what matters. Uncle Mike, you matter. And I'm sorry. And Tracy and Kurt, that's 2 illegitimate children. Family secret, we'll talk about it later. I'm sorry for your loss. And Pat, you may not be my mom, but you and Aunt Joan have been very close to me, and you know why. And Uncle Phil and Uncle Mike, all those days scanning the documents, luckily the women were there to keep you straight, were always fun. And I'm going to remember them for a long time. But I need you to know that you will be missed. And that we will always, always, always remember the time we had together. And I have a very special family. And I love my dad. And you're a second father to me in many ways. And I appreciate the time you spent with me. And I will always cherish that. For everyone in the family, the extended family, everyone here, we're very lucky. We're very blessed. There are people in the world that come and go. Some of them go too soon. But if you get to know them, it makes you a better person. And I appreciate Mike. You help me be a better person every day. And Aunt Pat will be here for you. And afterwards, I just have one request. If before everyone takes off, any of the little kids, medium kids, the big kids, we can all get a picture with Uncle Mike before we go. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Maddie. For those of you who don't know, Maddie's my beautiful daughter. She's my first and oldest child. Not my only child, but my oldest child.
Yeah, I'm Maddie. I was sitting there trying to think of what I was going to say. There are a lot of things I could say, a lot of things I don't know what to say about, but this has been, I'll say it because everyone's thinking it, this is an awkward day. But it's bittersweet. It's absolutely incredible to see the people that are here and who's interacting with who, and it's really cool to see how people are putting behind past to celebrate one person, my grandfather, who I have had the pleasure and the delight, again, to spend some time with in the last couple years. More so than I had before. And it's very weird being up here, and I really am at a loss for words, but I want to point out that there is one woman in this room who has more strength and more class than I don't even know. And that's you, Pat. And you are absolutely wonderful, and my grandfather has been lucky to have you, and you are lucky to have him, and he is wonderful, and I'm glad that you're a part of our family, and even though I don't know your side of the family as much, I hope I get to know all of you. And I guess on behalf of my brothers and I just want to say we love you, and we love you too, Grandpa. And it's a good thing here, what's happening. And things have been hard for a lot of us in this room. Like my dad had, and my aunt had stuff going on with my grandfather. You know, there have been tensions in my family as well. And the fact that we can all come together today and be here and be happy and just share the love for you, Grandpa, that means a lot to me and to my family and I think to everyone here. So thank you, everyone, for coming out. And thank you, Pat and my dad. It's been hard, but it's been a revelation. So I hope what we take from today is that leave the past behind, let it go. What's done is done. Move on, and you don't know how long you have, and love who you have, and enjoy their time. So thank you. We love you.
Thank you, Manny. It's well spoken. You actually brought a really good point up, and I think I overlooked it. I told you I would. Pat, you really are, you know, I know my sister and I particularly had walls built for a long time because of obvious situations, but anyway, I won't talk more about that. Anyway, listen, I just want to say to you, you really are a pillar of strength for my dad, and you are really a nice person. You are really sweet, and we do love you.
You don't really know that.
And, she said,
You don't really know her.
oh, talk to some family members, huh? And we do appreciate you being there for my dad. We really do. We just wanted to again, express that. So, Maddie, it was a nice point to bring up. Okay. Okay, we can do this. Every single one of you can get over whatever you're dealing with. Okay? Come on now. Wow.
Yeah, this is all business, but it's all good, because if you look around, the opportunity that Hardcastle was the name I gave him. I don't know if all of you remember, there was a really great TV show with a character called Hardcastle, it was played by Brian Keith, and Mike Sr. reminded me of him, and I loved this character, and so I coined the phrase Hardcastle when I came to see him, because Mr. Hart didn't work for me because I'm kind of a casual person, and Mike didn't work for me because it was too informal. So when I was dating his son, and I decided that Hardcastle would be the name I called Mike Sr. So anyway, I still revel in that. I'm probably the only person that calls you that, isn't that true? Yeah. Okay, good. So I have the only name of that. I'm here to thank you, Hardcastle. He gave me my first husband. He gave me the three most wonderful men of my life. And without you, or without him, they have been gifts to me my whole life. And more. It was a family of love that I entered. And I miss, but yet, I know that we're all still people on the earth, and you know, this is an unusual opportunity in that we get the chance to contemplate our mortality. You know, it's a moment of time. Janet, it's a moment of time. Chuck, Patty, it's a moment of time. We have each other here just for a second. And in that second, we get to tell everyone or feel it or express how we care about people. And we should do it. We shouldn't stand in our heart thing. I have some heart besides mine's called Zicarelli, by the way. We don't need to do it anymore. Let's let it go. Let's giggle together. Let's find common ground like this amazing man whose legacy will carry on, you know, through wonderful loyalty and unconditional love. Even in times when there was turmoil in the family, there was still that consistent love. Let's just do that for each other. And again, I want to thank you, Hardcastle, for the wonderful people that you sent to my life, and that's, I guess, what I have to say.
Yeah, you have touched a lot of lives. Caleb, do you want to say something? Caleb is my sister's child, and Allie, granddaughters.
They're my child, too.
It'll go up there.
Yeah.
Somehow, you know, okay. Keep it up.
It'll look like it. That was a good
First of all,
face
I
too,
just want to
Chuck.
thank you. Really, really a nice experience. And we will see a lot of people I haven't seen in a while. And thank you, everybody, for putting everything together. There's pictures up there. There's slideshows. There's music. There's video cameras. There's a lot of special things planned for today. And I know it's going to make a great impact on all of us. And so I just want to thank everybody who was involved, even for showing up. It really made this day what it was. And I think we're all going to remember it forever. And I think it's a really good experience. And as hard as it is, we've been forced to look at this as a blessing, because it really is. Not many people get this chance, as mentioned earlier. Not a lot of people get this chance, and we're getting this chance to spend with him and to all come together, and I really am just so grateful to have all of you guys as part of my family, friends, extended family, and it really has changed my life already. So before this gets too serious, I want to lighten things up with one of my favorite memories of us. One of the best trips I've ever been on is when we went to Disney World together, my grandpa and my grandmom and my family, and it was one of the best experiences. I will always remember it, even when we forced him to go on some rides that were a little bit crazy. I remember being at the airport and him saying, "Cookie, come over here," and we were just looking out the window at all the airplanes and everything. He was so fascinated by it, and I just remember being in awe, being like, oh my God, I never even thought to look at an airplane like that. And it just makes you appreciate everything. And it's really taught me a lot to appreciate everything you have, even things you don't recognize and don't realize. There's a lot of beauty in the world and a lot of happiness and a lot of good, and you made me see that. And even walking down Main Street in Disney World and going on, it's a small world, and being fascinated with all the different cultures around and on the ride and taking all these pictures, and it's a really great memory. And we went to Mount Everest, one of the little crazier roller coasters in Animal Kingdom. We were like, oh no, it's a relaxing ride. It's okay, it's not a big deal. And we got one. There's a picture over there, and a little crazy. You can tell by the faces we're all making. We either look like we're gonna start crying, or we were just getting like surprised in a haunted house or something like that. It's not expected, but it sure created a lot of great memories, and we have a really special picture from that, and that will always make me laugh, and I'm just so grateful that we had that time to spend with each other, and it has really changed my life, and thank you so much for everything you've done, and you've really changed my life, and I'm so lucky to have you as my grandpa growing up, and always make me laugh, and I know to behave, otherwise I'll have a little nug in my ears. So I know what's going on, so I know that you know what's going on. So thank you, and I love you. And I'm sure Allie wants to say something.
Hi, I'm Allie, and my favorite memory is when I was in maybe 4th or 5th grade, and we came here for Christmas brunch, I think, and I was getting ready, and I was having a fit because I said my hair didn't look okay. And they had to drag me out of the house, and I would not go out of the house. And he came up to me, and he's like, why are you crying? And I was like, my hair looks terrible. I cannot leave the house. And then he's like, oh, it doesn't matter what you look like. It just matters what's inside. And that's a lesson that I'll always take with me. So I thank you for that.
He's done all of us. I'm sorry, folks, you gotta listen to him.
Just Patty's
No,
husband.
Chuck's a great guy, he's married to my
My
sister.
sister's married
and
to
he's
him
Chuck
too,
Malone.
so she'll agree.
I'm going to try to keep the mood light here. And my favorite story about Grandpa is for him paying me back for marrying his daughter. Grandpa went through a period where he became a pastry chef and started making cakes. He brought cakes over. And they were delicious cakes. And I sat there and watched everybody eat. Patty, the kids, Pat, they were all eating the cake. I was like, all right, I'll try a piece. He cut my piece, and it had a big eggshell in it. And I said, yeah, that's my payback for marrying his daughter and her becoming a Pollock like me. And I'll never, ever forget, I'll never look at another piece of cake without making sure there's not an eggshell in it before I chew on it.
He made you a second one.
He did make me a second one, it's just I had a magnifying glass looking at
No,
it.
there was eggshell.
It did have, the second one had eggshell in it too, right, right.
You have to understand, it wasn't.
Grandpa, I hope we made you proud. Thank you for giving me your daughter.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you for being in my life, but most of all, being in my sisters and making her a very happy person. Thank you, Mike. We love you.
I'm Ryan. Mike is my dad's brother, and this isn't easy for anybody, so it's just something I wanted to share with everybody. Growing up with my dad, Frank, with my dad, I was a little bit hard to handle. I can understand now what that's like. Unfortunately, anyway, no, I love my kids to death, and I know, every parent does. And, growing up, it's tough to love your kids all the time sometimes. Anyway, growing up, it was always, my Uncle Mike, my Uncle Rich, and my dad were pretty much my closest three uncles. And, I always enjoyed seeing them, and growing up, as a kid, you don't think of these things. And as you get older, proper etiquette, I guess, is that, you hug your aunts, and, you're a man, so you shake your uncle's hands. And I don't know how old I was. I guess it was late teens, early 20s. I saw my Uncle Mike again on a regular basis. And, hey, Uncle Mike, how you doing? Shook his hand, he rips me in and rips it up and gives me this big old hug. And I'm like, what's going on here, I hugged him back, and it was just, it felt good. And it was great. And from that point on, it was one of those things in my life that I'll never forget. That's the first time I really hugged a man. But it was the love that I felt during the hug that I was just kind of taken back by. And, when I see my dad now, when I see my uncles, when I see anybody, I'm shaking their hand, but I'm hugging them too. So I just wanted to share that with you, because every time I hug somebody now, it makes me think of my Uncle Mike, and I'll have that forever, so.
My mom and Uncle Mike, brother and sister, and growing up as a kid, we had lots of great adventures because almost every weekend, Uncle Mike and Aunt Betty, Patty and Mike come over to the house. And that I always look forward to Saturdays because I get to see them. And I could always tell when they were there because I could smell the cigarette smoke. Oh, they must be here. And so we had loads of great adventures. I mean, I always remember Uncle Mike saying, you know, here, pull my finger, and then he'd fart. And he has not lost his sense of humor. I mean, he is still... Yeah, but I remember it especially with Uncle Mike, because I saw him the most. And, you know, he'd always try to trick you before he would do that. You know, I just laugh every time I think of it. But, you know, every weekend he'd come over and he'd work with my dad on the jobs. And it was just so great to get to, you know, have like another family member. I mean, Patty's like a sister to us because we saw her so much. And Mike, I mean, remember you and Anthony always riding on the bikes, and I remember the one day in the yard, you buried Patty in a pile of leaves. And
Nobody forgets that.
remember that?
Nobody.
No, I don't. Thanks for reminding me.
And, I mean, we got so many, I mean, even like me and Colleen were like, you know, going after Mike. Patty was like almost passed out. I used to call her Flea. We're like, Mike, she's not Flea. Yeah, but she's so small. So just like lots of great memories. And I remember too when my dad had the trolley to get more advertisement, he needed someone to drive it around because it had billboards on it. So Uncle Mike came over and he would drive it around a couple times a week. And you know, he'd be gone for an hour or two, and if I was done working for the day, I'd get on board and ride with him. And we had some really, really, really great talks. We played some great music. And so I'll always cherish those times with him on the trolley. And even like all the weddings and stuff that he would come to was always like so, you know, when Uncle Mike was there, you know, you felt like, it felt great because he was like a second dad. So we love you, Uncle Mike. Thank you for the memories.
I should have come this. No, it's very nice. We do have a lot of members, our families and Aquilines are very tight. We spend a lot of time together before we sing happy birthday. Dad, if you're okay, I'd like you to just address your crowd here. These are your peeps.
You're good.
No, this is the blessed day I ever had in my life, to be honest with you. Except for the birth of my children, this is it. You can't ask for anything better than this. You can't buy anything like this, and it's just priceless to me. And see all my loved ones come together, all my friends, it makes me feel so much more at peace. I can enjoy the rest of my days, I can have fun, I can really, really sleep better, I know that right now. And I just love everyone so dearly, and life is so precious. It's a precious, precious thing. And I really, really appreciate everybody being here and helping me share this day. It means the world to me.
And I would just close in saying this here too. Dad, I guess, you know, if we see everybody leaving here today, giving each other hugs and showing love to each other, then I would say our father and son project succeeded.
Yes.
And your wishes
By all
fulfilled.
means.
Okay. Maddie? Kayla?
Just start it, we'll chime in.
Go ahead and...
We'll sing. We'll sing.
You guys start.
Start it.
Happy birthday, dear Michael. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Michael.